friends. Today we are going to be doing some pruning of both, I'm going to do the elderberry and Tim's going to handle the fig tree that's behind me. Really, this should have already been done. I'm seeing that some budding is happening, but hopefully we can still get good cuttings, and it needs to be pruned back because it's getting too tall for me to be able to reach the flowers and berries. So I'm just gonna go through that process. Got my basket for cuttings and my pruning shears that have been sterilized. So here we go. So to start with, I'm going to cut back pretty hard on this because I really don't want it to be so tall. So I'm looking for, the buds are in sets of 2, and new branches will sprout from these in the spring. So I'm going to cut back really far. And now from this cutting, I can get, you need 2 buds for each cutting, so we've got 2 sets of buds. So I have 1, 2, that's 1, 2, that's 2, 2, that's 3. So I can get 3 cuttings from this. And what I'm going to do is, for the bottom part that I'm going to stick into the soil or into my rooting mix, I'm going to cut it at an angle so it goes in easily. And then I'm just going to cut above these buds about 1 inch straight. It actually looks good inside. It's white and green. So that's my first cutting into the basket, and I'm going to proceed that way. So I've got my next set of buds here. I'm going to cut 1 inch above straight, and then the second portion on an angle about 1 inch below. Whoops! There's my second cutting. So here's an example of one that I'm not going to keep. See how it's brown in the center there? That's not healthy. So I'm gonna ditch that one. Okay, so I'll finish up. This is not a good example of how to prune an elder tree bush, but I didn't know what I was doing when I planted this 4 or 5 years ago, and because of that, there's a lot of old growth here, and I'm too timid to cut it back really hard. So I treat it a little bit more like a tree. With these cuttings, if they do well, I will handle them differently. I'm going to handle them more orchard style, and hopefully I can make a video about that next year, probably would be when that would happen. But so this is pruned back. I've got a pile of cuttings that are not going to be used for propagating, and what I'm going to do is tie them together, get them all about the same length, and this is going to be a wild bee, native bee hotel, hopefully. And here's my basket of cuttings, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with those, how I'm going to pot them up, and hopefully we're going to have great success. If we do, these will be way more than I actually need, so maybe I'll be able to share with friends. Other news, I'm actually going to cut back all this dead growth, but not all the way down, because I'm going to use it as support for the new growth, and also to allow for native bees to make homes in the stems. So right now they're sleeping under the leaves somewhere, and in the spring, if I leave about 6 to 8 inches of this old dead growth, they can make good use of it for nest building. Change of venue. We're going to pot up the cuttings. So I've got 3 pots with my soil square soil that I use for doing soil blocks. I've got one with just vermiculite and perlite, and I've got one with just regular like potting soil, kind of doing a little, not super scientific experiment. And then what I've got are some gallon-sized bags with the tips cut off. I've put the date of the cutting, and I've got 5 rubber bands, and I'm just going to take one of the cuttings with the end that's angled and has the buds, and I'm going to push it down beneath the soil. And that's it. Now this one's so tall, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get one of those gallon-sized bags over top of it, which could be a problem, but I'm gonna cram as many in here, like not too close, but try to get a good bit of them in here. And yeah, that's how I'll let them root before they get planted out. Give them a good watering. And I've got them on a tray. Not too soaking because I don't want them to rot. And I haven't done anything to these. I haven't put any rooting hormone or anything like that. I disinfected the pots, but that's about it. Keeping it simple. There it is. I only ended up needing one rubber band because the bags actually fit really snugly over the pots. Stay tuned to see how this goes. All right, friends, here we are almost 2 weeks later, and everybody appears to be doing quite well. I'd say the least productive is the cuttings in just the perlite vermiculite. And the soil, black soil, and regular garden compost seem to be doing about the same. And I wanted to show you some of the extra cuttings I couldn't fit under bags, so I stuck them in some water. They're looking great as well, but you'll notice that there really aren't any noticeable roots, and this is to be expected. We're only not even 2 weeks in. I'm not even going to attempt to look at the ones that are potted to see if their roots are doing well for another 6 weeks. And I'm kind of using this as my gauge. It's likely the ones in soil will develop roots faster. So I know if these start to develop roots, I'm probably really good to go with the ones in the soil. But hope this has been helpful, and I hope you'll give elderberry a try if you aren't already. And if you are, you can get lots more free plants.